The mining vessel Helios drifted silently through the Kuiper Belt, its massive collection arrays casting long shadows across the ice-strewn void. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge viewport, her dark eyes fixed on the distant shapes of her harvest drones as they carved through another promising asteroid. 20 years of deep space mining had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, every nerve in her body screamed that something was wrong. "Captain, we're picking up some unusual readings from Site Delta," Maya Rodriguez called from her sensor station. The young physicist had joined the crew just 6 months ago, but her expertise in quantum mechanics had already proved invaluable in identifying rich mineral deposits. "The energy signature. I've never seen anything like it." Sarah moved to Maya's station, studying the complex wave patterns dancing across her display. "Show me the temporal analysis." The screen shifted, revealing a pulsing pattern that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The energy wasn't random. It was structured, organized, purposeful. Sarah felt her throat tighten. After 2 decades in deep space, she knew they'd just stumbled onto something that would change everything. "Wake up, Dr. Harrison," she ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "And get the harvest drones back to the ship, all of them." The Helios crew of 32 had been chosen for their expertise in mining operations, not first contact scenarios. But as James Harrison, their resident geologist and synoarchaeologist, studied the readings an hour later, his hands trembled with excitement. "This isn't natural," he whispered, more to himself than to the others gathered in the ship's cramped conference room. "The pattern repeats every 47 seconds, with variations that suggest a base 12 mathematical system. This is a message, or at least part of one." Sarah watched her crew's reactions carefully. She saw fear, excitement, disbelief, all the emotions she was struggling to keep in check herself. "Can we decode it?" Harrison shook his head. "Not without more data." "But Captain, these energy signatures are emanating from inside the asteroid. Whatever this is, it's been buried there for a very long time." The decision weighed heavily on Sarah. Protocol demanded they report the discovery to Earth immediately. But transmissions from this far out took hours to reach home, and she knew that once word got out, they'd lose any chance of being the ones to investigate further. "Maya, how long would it take to modify one of the mining drones for detailed scanning of the site?" The physicist considered for a moment. 3 hours, maybe 4. We'd need to recalibrate the sensors and... She stopped suddenly, her eyes going wide as she stared at her tablet. "Captain, you need to see this." The energy readings had changed. The regular pattern was now interspersed with bursts of intense activity. As they watched, more signals began appearing, not just from their asteroid, but from others nearby. "They're activating," Harrison breathed. "Whatever these things are, they're waking up." Sarah was about to respond when a new alarm cut through the tension. Raj Patel, their navigation officer, swore under his breath as he pulled up the long-range scans. "Multiple objects just appeared at the edge of our sensor range," he reported, his voice tight. "They're big, they're moving fast, and they're headed straight for us." The objects were massive, each one larger than any ship humanity had ever built. Their design was alien, all sharp angles and crystalline structures that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. And they were accelerating. "Battle stations," Sarah ordered, the words feeling strange in her mouth. The Helios was a mining vessel, with only minimal point defense weapons for dealing with asteroid debris. But something in her gut told her they were about to need every advantage they could get. "Get me a tight beam transmission to Earth," she continued. "Priority 1. Maximum encryption, and start downloading everything we have on these energy signatures and those ships." As her crew scrambled to comply, Sarah found herself drawn back to the viewport. The distant objects were visible now, their shapes distorting the star field behind them. First contact. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. But as she watched the alien ships approach, Sarah Chen realized that dreams could quickly turn into nightmares. Her father had once told her that the most important moments in history were rarely recognized as such until it was too late. Standing on the bridge of her mining vessel, watching humanity's first contact scenario unfold, Sarah understood exactly what he meant. "Message buoy ready for launch," Raj reported. "All data packaged and encrypted." Sarah took a deep breath. "Launch it. And power up the mining lasers. If we have to fight, we'll use what we have." The buoy shot away from the Helios, its small engine flaring briefly before it disappeared into the darkness. Sarah knew it was their only chance of warning Earth about what was coming, because the alien ships were close enough now to see clearly, and their configuration left no doubt about their purpose. They were warships, and they were charging weapons. "Maya," Sarah called, her voice remarkably calm. "Those energy signatures we detected, could they be weapons?" The physicist's fingers flew across her console. The mathematical patterns. Yes, they could be targeting systems, or power sources, or... She stopped, her face paling. "Captain, the signals are synchronized now. All of them. And they're building to some kind of crescendo." Sarah looked at the alien fleet, then back at the asteroid field where they'd made their discovery. Whatever they'd found wasn't just ancient technology. It was a trigger. And they'd just activated it. "All hands," she announced over the ship-wide comm. "Prepare for emergency maneuvers. This is not a drill." She turned to her bridge crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. "Whatever happens next, we make sure Earth gets our warning. We make sure humanity has a chance." The first energy beam from the alien fleet lit up the void, and the battle for humanity's future began. Admiral David Reeves stood in Earth's primary defense command center, watching as dozens of holographic displays tracked the approaching alien fleet. The Helios warning had arrived just 72 hours ago, along with their sensor data and final transmissions. Those transmissions had ended with the sound of tearing metal and Captain Chen's voice, calm even in the face of destruction, ordering her crew to abandon ship. "Status of the defense fleet?" he asked, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of tactical displays. Colonel Diana Wright, his tactical officer, stepped forward. 37 warships assembled, sir. Another 15 can arrive within 12 hours. We've also armed every mining vessel and cargo hauler we could reach in time." It wasn't enough. They both knew it wasn't enough. The alien fleet numbered over 200 vessels, each one demonstrating technology far beyond humanity's current capabilities. But they had one advantage, an advantage bought with the lives of the Helios crew. "Dr. Patel, report on the artifact data," Reeves commanded. Raj Patel, the sole survivor of the Helios, and now Earth's leading expert on the alien technology, looked up from his workstation. His eyes were haunted, but his voice was steady. The energy signatures Captain Chen discovered. They weren't just communication devices. They were part of an ancient defense network. The aliens who built them were at war with something, and they left behind weapons. Weapons we might be able to use. "Might?" Colonel Wright asked sharply. "The technology is millions of years old," Patel explained, "and it was never meant for human use. But I've identified similar patterns in the alien fleet's energy emissions. They're using derivatives of the same technology. If we can understand it, we might have a chance." Reeves studied the tactical display, where the alien fleet's approach was marked in angry red vectors. "How long until they reach the Jupiter defense line?" 6 hours, sir. 6 hours to prepare for humanity's first major space battle. 6 hours to ready weapons they barely understood against an enemy they couldn't comprehend. The Admiral straightened his shoulders, feeling the weight of command settle more heavily than ever before. "Deploy the fleet in a dispersed formation around Jupiter's orbital plane," he ordered, "and get me a direct link to all ship commanders." As the communications team worked, Reeves thought about the message they'd managed to decode from the alien transmissions. It had been short, direct, and terrifying. Submit or be erased. No negotiation. No explanation. Just an ultimatum backed by overwhelming force. Fleet commanders online, sir. Reeves took a deep breath. This is Admiral Reeves. By now you've all seen the tactical data and know what we're facing. The enemy believes we'll submit or be destroyed. They believe we're primitive, weak, unworthy of existence as equals. Today, we prove them wrong. He paused, letting his words sink in. Dr. Patel has adapted the ancient defense protocols to our ship systems. These modifications are untested and potentially dangerous to use, but they're our best chance. Trust your training. Trust each other. And remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for humanity's right to exist among the stars. Reeves out. The next few hours were a blur of final preparations. Ships moved into position, crews ran last-minute system checks, and weapons were armed. Dr. Patel worked frantically to distribute the modified defense protocols, his fingers flying over holographic controls as he explained the basics of alien technology to human weapons officers. The alien fleet arrived exactly when predicted, their massive ships darkening Jupiter's sky as they approached in perfect formation. For a moment, everything was still. Then space itself seemed to tear apart as the battle began. The alien weapons were devastating, beams of coherent energy that could slice through battleship armor like paper. But humanity had learned from the Helios sacrifice. Their ships moved in unpredictable patterns, using Jupiter's radiation belts for cover, striking from unexpected angles. And the modified weapons worked. Not perfectly, not reliably, but when they hit, alien shields flickered and failed. Human determination and ingenuity began to even the odds against superior technology. Multiple contacts, bearing 317. Colonel Wright called out. They're trying to flank our western defense line. Reeves watched as a group of mining vessels turned to meet the threat. Their industrial cutting lasers, originally designed to carve up asteroids, had been modified with the ancient defense protocols. They weren't elegant weapons, but as the alien ships discovered, they were effective. Sir, Patel's voice was urgent. I'm detecting a power buildup in the alien flagship. The pattern. It's similar to what we saw just before the Helios. All ships, evasive action. Reeves ordered, but it was too late. A wave of energy pulsed out from the alien flagship, washing over the human fleet. Ships tumbled out of formation as their systems crashed. Emergency lights flickered across the command center as Earth's own defenses were affected. Report, Reeves demanded. 70% of the fleet is offline. Wright answered grimly. The alien technology. It's like they just turned everything off. Reeves turned to Patel. Can we counter it? The scientist was already working, his hands shaking, but his mind racing. Maybe. The ancient defense network. It wasn't just weapons. It was designed to protect against exactly this kind of attack. If we can. He stopped suddenly, his eyes widening. Sir, look at the alien fleet. The massive alien ships had stopped their advance. Their weapons powered down. Their formation broke apart. Whatever they had done to disable the human fleet had affected their own ships as well. They don't fully understand the technology either, Patel whispered. They found it, just like we did, but they don't know how to control it completely. Reeves leaned forward, his mind racing with possibilities. How long until our ships can restart? 10 minutes, maybe less. But sir, I think I know how we can do more than just restart. I think I know how we can win. The Admiral looked at the tactical display, where both fleets hung powerless in space. The next few minutes would determine the fate of humanity, and for the first time since the alien fleet appeared, Admiral David Reeves smiled. The real battle was about to begin. The observation deck of the ESS Hyperion hummed with nervous energy as Dr. Raj Patel connected the final circuits of his improvised control system. Around him, the remnants of Earth's defense fleet drifted in the shadow of Europa, their ships dark except for essential life support systems. They were hiding, buying precious time while Patel worked to implement his desperate plan. The alien technology isn't just similar to the ancient defense network, he explained to Admiral Reeves and the assembled ship commanders, his hands moving across holographic displays. It's a direct evolution of it. But they made a critical mistake. They modified it without understanding its core principles. Colonel Wright frowned at the complex diagrams floating before them. And you understand these principles? Not entirely, Patel admitted. But I understand enough. The Helios final scans showed something crucial. The alien fleet's systems are synchronized. They're all linked together, sharing power and control. It's their strength, but it's also their weakness. Admiral Reeves studied the tactical display, where the alien fleet had regrouped near Ganymede. Their ships had recovered from the system-wide shutdown, but they were moving cautiously now, as if uncertain of their own technology. How do we exploit this weakness? He asked. Patel gestured to the modified mining equipment scattered across the deck. We don't try to match their technology. We subvert it. These mining lasers, they're crude by alien standards, but they operate on completely different principles. When we modify them with elements from the ancient defense network, they become something new, something unpredictable, something the aliens can't defend against. Wright realized, her eyes widening. Exactly. But we need more than weapons. We need to understand our enemy. Patel pulled up the decoded alien transmissions. Their communications are rigid, hierarchical. They don't just fight as a unified force. They think as one. Individual ships never act independently. Admiral Reeves leaned forward, his tactical mind seeing the possibilities. So we do the opposite. We fight as individuals, make unpredictable choices they can't anticipate. But we need to coordinate somehow, Wright objected. We can't just throw ourselves at them randomly. Not randomly, Patel agreed. Chaos theory shows us that even complex, seemingly random systems follow underlying patterns. We'll use those patterns to our advantage. The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the fleet prepared for battle. Every ship was modified according to Patel's specifications, their systems deliberately desynchronized to prevent another mass shutdown. Crews trained in new tactics that seemed to defy conventional military doctrine. We're ready, Admiral, Wright reported finally. Though I'm still not sure this will work. Reeves watched the alien fleet through the viewport, their crystalline ships gleaming in Jupiter's reflected light. Neither am I, Colonel. But sometimes the best strategies are the ones your enemy can't believe you'd actually attempt. He opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Reeves. You've been briefed on the plan. It goes against everything we've trained for, everything we know about space combat. The enemy expects us to fight like they do, as a unified, predictable force. Instead, we're going to show them something they've never seen before. Human creativity unleashed. The battle began with a single mining vessel breaking cover, its modified laser carving an erratic path through space. The alien fleet responded predictably, multiple ships moving to intercept. But as their weapons locked on, the mining vessel's energy signature suddenly changed, broadcasting on frequencies that matched their own systems. The alien ships hesitated for a crucial moment, their unified network trying to process this anomaly. In that moment, 3 more human vessels attacked from different vectors, each operating on different frequencies, each following its own unpredictable course. Confusion spread through the alien fleet as their synchronized systems tried to adapt to multiple threats that didn't follow any recognizable pattern. Ships began to break formation, their responses becoming increasingly erratic as they faced an enemy that defied their fundamental understanding of combat. It's working, Patel breathed, watching the tactical displays. Their network can't process so many independent variables. They're starting to interfere with each other's systems. The battle expanded across the Jovian system, a dance of chaos and calculation. Human ships darted between the massive alien vessels, their modified weapons striking at seemingly random intervals. Some attacks failed completely, while others caused catastrophic chain reactions through the aliens' linked systems. But the aliens were learning, adapting their strategies. A group of their ships suddenly broke away from the main fleet, operating independently for the first time. They began targeting human vessels with devastating accuracy. "They're evolving," Wright warned, "finding ways to fight as individuals." Reeves nodded grimly. "Then we change the game again. Signal the mining fleet. Implement Pattern Omega." Dozens of human ships suddenly converged on a single point, their energy signatures merging into one massive signal that overwhelmed alien sensors. Then, just as the enemy fleet moved to respond, they scattered in all directions, each ship broadcasting on a different frequency, creating a cacophony of electromagnetic chaos. The alien fleet's coordination shattered. Ships collided as conflicting commands surged through their network. Others fired at phantom targets, their weapons guided by corrupted data. The battle descended into pure chaos, exactly as planned. "We've created a cascade failure in their command network," Paddle reported, his voice tight with excitement and fear. "But sir, these energy readings, something bigger is building. Something we didn't anticipate." Before Reeves could respond, space itself seemed to twist as a new signal cut through the chaos. It wasn't coming from the alien fleet, but from deeper in the system, where the ancient defense network was awakening fully for the first time in millions of years. The real test of humanity's adaptability was about to begin. The ancient defense network's activation changed everything. Massive energy waves pulsed through the Jupiter system, interfering with both human and alien ships alike. On the bridge of the Hyperion, Admiral Reeves watched as new holographic displays materialized out of nowhere, showing systems and structures that had been hidden for millions of years. "It's a complete defense grid," Paddle explained, his fingers dancing across controls that hadn't existed minutes ago. The aliens were fighting. They only found fragments of it. But now it's all awakening. And it's choosing sides. The evidence was impossible to ignore. Alien ships were being systematically targeted by energy pulses that seemed to pass harmlessly through human vessels. The ancient network had recognized humanity's creative use of its technology and deemed them worthy successors. But victory wouldn't come easily. The alien fleet, though disrupted, was far from defeated. Their ships began adapting to the defense grid's attacks, using their superior technology to turn the ancient energy pulses back on human vessels. "We need to end this now," Reeves decided, studying the tactical display. "Before they'd fully adapt. Dr. Patel, you said their network has a central control point." "Yes, sir. Their flagship. But it's at the heart of their formation, surrounded by their strongest ships. We'd never get close enough to—" "We might," interrupted a new voice. Colonel Wright stepped forward, her face illuminated by the strange light of the ancient displays. "If we use their own synchronization against them one last time." The plan that emerged was audacious to the point of insanity. While the main fleet engaged the aliens in another chaos pattern attack, a small team would take a modified mining vessel through the defense grid's newly revealed hyperspace corridors, shortcuts through space that the ancient civilization had built for their own ships. "It's a one-way trip," Wright said quietly. "Even if we succeed, the energy backlash from disrupting their network at its source, we won't survive it." Reeves looked at his tactical officer, seeing the determination in her eyes. "You don't have to." "Yes, sir, I do." She smiled slightly. "Someone has to show them what humanity is really capable of." The next hour was a blur of preparation. Wright's team, volunteers all, modified their ship while Paddle worked to integrate their systems with the ancient network. The plan relied on perfect timing and more than a little luck. One mistake, one miscalculation, and Earth's last chance would be lost. "Defense grid is showing increased activity in sectors 7 through 12, Paddle reported as the mission time approached. "The aliens are losing ships, but they're learning, adapting faster than we anticipated. We have maybe 20 minutes before they gain full control of the network." Reeves nodded grimly. "Colonel, your team is cleared for launch. Good hunting." Wright's modified vessel, now designated Shadow 1, slipped away from the Hyperion, its hull covered in improvised stealth technology. They would only get one shot at this. The main fleet began its attack, ships moving in complex patterns designed to draw alien attention and resources. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. The defense grid's energy pulses created corridors of warped space, while alien weapons tore holes in reality itself. Human ships danced through the chaos, their modified systems broadcasting conflicting signals that confused and disrupted the enemy fleet. But the aliens were adapting quickly, their linked consciousness learning and evolving at an exponential rate. Ships began moving in new patterns, using the defense grid's own energy against the human fleet. Casualties mounted on both sides as the battle reached a devastating crescendo. Shadow 1 approaching target point, Wright's voice crackled through the command channel. Encountering heavy resistance. Request maximum disruption pattern. Reeves gave the order, and the human fleet executed their most aggressive maneuver yet. Every ship fired simultaneously, their modified weapons creating a web of energy that temporarily blinded alien sensors. In that moment of confusion, Shadow 1 made its final approach. "Sir," Patel's voice was urgent. "The defense grid, it's showing signs of overload. The aliens' attempts to control it are destabilizing the entire network. If it collapses..." The implications were clear. The ancient technology that powered the defense grid was beyond anything humanity fully understood. Its collapse could devastate the entire Jupiter system. "Colonel Wright," Reeves called, "we need to abort. The risk is too..." "Negative, sir." Wright's voice was calm, despite the chaos surrounding her ship. "We're past the point of no return. But, sir, we found something. The alien flagship, it's not just controlling their network. It's containing something. Some kind of consciousness." Static filled the channel as Shadow 1 pushed deeper into enemy territory. When Wright's voice returned, it was filled with a mix of awe and horror. The aliens, they're not just linked. They're being controlled, forced into unity by something ancient, something that's been waiting, gathering strength. The fleet we're fighting. They're as much victims as we are. The revelation hit Reeves like a physical blow. They weren't just fighting for Earth's survival anymore. They were fighting for the free will of two civilizations. "New plan," Wright announced. "We're going to free them. All of them. It's going to cost us everything. But that's what humanity does, isn't it? We sacrifice what we must to do what's right." Shadow 1's signal began to break up as they made their final approach. The last thing Reeves heard was Wright's voice, strong and clear despite everything. "For Earth, for freedom, for all of us." Then the alien flagship erupted in a blast of energy that transcended human understanding, and the final phase of the battle began. The explosion that consumed Shadow 1 and the alien flagship created something new in the space between spaces. Energy cascaded through dimensions humanity had never known existed, carrying with it the last transmission from Colonel Wright's team, a complex code that rippled through the alien network like a virus of free will. On the Hyperion's bridge, Dr. Patel worked frantically to understand what was happening. The ancient defense grid was reacting to the explosion, its energy patterns shifting in ways that defied conventional physics. "The controlling consciousness," he reported, his voice filled with wonder and fear. It was part of the original builders of the defense network, a fragment of their civilization that survived by absorbing other species, forcing them into a twisted kind of unity. The aliens we were fighting, they were its latest victims. Admiral Reeves watched as the alien fleet's formation began to break apart, individual ships moving erratically as their crews fought for control of their own minds. "Can we help them?" "We already are," Patel replied. "Colonel Wright's team. They didn't just attack the control center. They used our modified technology to broadcast a choice. The same human unpredictability that disrupted their network is now giving them a chance to break free." The battle transformed into something entirely unexpected. As alien crews regained their individuality, Many ships simply stopped fighting. Others turned their weapons on the remaining vessels, still under the ancient consciousness's control. The defense grid itself seemed to pulse in sympathy, its energy waves now working to suppress the malevolent entity's influence. "Sir," Patel's voice was urgent. "I'm detecting massive power fluctuations throughout the system. The defense grid is becoming unstable. The ancient consciousness, it's trying to take control of the entire network." A new signal cut through the chaos, a transmission in a language that somehow everyone could understand. The ancient consciousness spoke directly into their minds, its thoughts a mixture of rage and desperation. "You cannot stop unity," it declared. "Individuality is chaos, disorder. We brought peace to 1,000 species. We will bring peace to you." The response came not from the human fleet, but from the freed alien ships. Their crews, experiencing true freedom for the first time in generations, broadcast their defiance across all frequencies. Their messages were different, distinct, gloriously individual, exactly what the controlling entity had tried to suppress. "Multiple signatures approaching from deep space," Patel reported. "More alien ships. But they're different. They're responding to the freed crew's transmissions. Reinforcements arrived, but not enemy vessels. These were ships from other species, other victims of the ancient consciousness who had broken free over the centuries. They joined the battle alongside humanity and the liberated alien crews, their combined force now focused on containing the entity's last desperate grasp for power. The defense grid is reaching critical levels," Patel warned. "If we don't find a way to stabilize it, the entire system will be destroyed." Reeves studied the tactical displays, watching as ships from a dozen different species maneuvered in concert while maintaining their individual tactics. An idea formed, one that Colonel Wright would have appreciated. "We don't need to stabilize it," he said. "We need to let it collapse. But on our terms. Dr. Patel, can we use our modified mining technology to channel the grid's energy?" Understanding dawned in Patel's eyes. Yes, we could create a feedback loop. Direct the collapse into a single point. But, sir, we'd be destroying technology beyond our comprehension. Knowledge that could advance humanity by centuries. Knowledge that nearly destroyed us," Reeves countered. "Sometimes the price of victory is knowing when to let go." The plan spread quickly among the combined fleet. Human ingenuity, alien technology, and the determination of free minds came together in a final coordinated effort. Ships moved into precise positions, their modified systems linking in a way completely different from the forced unity of before. This was cooperation born of choice, of free will, of the desire to protect something greater than themselves. The ancient consciousness fought back with everything it had, turning portions of the defense grid into weapons of unimaginable power. But it couldn't match the creativity, the adaptability, the sheer unpredictability of truly free minds working together. The end, when it came, was both spectacular and strangely beautiful. The defense grid's energy collapsed inward, drawn into a single point by the combined efforts of the fleet. The ancient consciousness, trapped within its own creation, transmitted one final message, not of anger, but of genuine confusion. "Why do you choose chaos over unity?" The answer came from every ship, every crew, every free mind in the system. Not in words, but in actions, as they worked together to contain the collapse while maintaining their individuality. The message was clear. True strength comes not from forced unity, but from the willing cooperation of distinct individuals. The defense grid disappeared in a flash of light that briefly outshone Jupiter itself. When it faded, the ancient technology was gone, taking with it both the threat and the temptation it represented. In the aftermath, human and alien ships drifted together in the silence of space. The first real communication between species began, not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals who had faced a common enemy and learned from each other. "Multiple transmission requests," Patel reported, a smile in his voice. "They all want to talk, to share their stories, to learn ours." Admiral Reeves thought of Colonel Wright and her team, of Captain Chen and the Helios, of all those who had sacrificed everything to make this moment possible. Their legacy would not be the technology they'd destroyed, but the connections they'd helped forge. "Open all channels," he ordered. "Let's show them what humanity does best: adapt, create, and build something new together." As the first exchanges began, Reeves looked out at the assembled fleet of different species, each ship unique in design and purpose, but all choosing to stay, to communicate, to work together. Humanity's first contact had begun in conflict, but was ending in cooperation. Not through forced unity, but through the kind of genuine connection that only free minds could create. The price of victory had been high, but the reward, the dawn of a new era of true interstellar cooperation, was worth every sacrifice. The future was uncertain, but it would be faced with creativity, determination, and above all, the freedom to choose their own path among the stars.